Now let's start in creating your measurement. Measure around your chest and pay attention to the space I'm giving. And a simple guide that is going to give you an idea of what I'm doing is my actual chest is 37 inches, but with the space I added to it gave me 50 inches. And this is a little trick I use in knowing where the slanted part of my jacket ends. There's this hole below everybody's chest. You can mark 1 inch or 2 inches to get the point. To get the full length, you just need to measure the top part of your shoulder to that point. And that's how I got the 14 inches. For getting the length of the jacket, measure the top part of your shoulder to your preferred length. But for me, I'm going to be making use of 26.5 inches. Now for your shoulder, there are these bones you can easily feel if you do what I'm doing. Those are the beginning and the ending point of where your shoulder lies. Now after measuring those points, I got 17.5 inches. Before cutting your fabric, the first thing that should come to your mind is what is your longest length and what is your biggest width. For some people, their biggest width is their stomach, whereby some people's biggest width is their chest. For this tutorial, my biggest width is my chest, whereby your longest length is just the length of your actual top you're making. My chest measurement is 50. 50 divided by 4 is 12.5. 12.5 plus half inch, which is going to be for my joining allowance, makes it 13. 13 plus half inch, which is going to be for my zip allowance, makes it 13.5. And that's how I got my largest width I'm going to be cutting with. How I got my longest length: my initial length is 26.5. 26.5 plus 1 is 27.5. The 1 is gotten from half inch joining allowance at the top and half inch joining allowance at the bottom. The idea about this whole prep is to give you a mindset on how to save your material so that you know what you're working with. Now let's get down to cutting. Now you know your longest length and biggest width. You don't even need to do much calculation, just mark them out. When marking yours, you don't need to mark this half inch and marking round. This is just for educational purpose. I just want to use these lines to remind you the reason why we left half inch in different sides. The F just means front of the top. Just a quick reminder, this half inch is mainly for zip allowance. Okay, I'm just going to fold this part with an iron to reduce confusion. Now it's folded, I measured it and I got 13, which is 12.5, which was my chest measurement, and half inch for my joining allowance. The 2 half inch at the top and the bottom is mainly for joining allowance. For you to get the back of your material, you just need to trace the front material you already have here, but add 2.5 inches to the length. And also the two differences between the back and the front is the back is 2.5 inches longer than the front, and the front has a folding. That folding is mainly for zip allowance. The back is not going to have a zip allowance. That's why I didn't add that folding allowance at the back, just the front. Take your front material to the top so that it's in line with the back material. If you can remember, our shoulder is 17. 17 divided by 2 is 8.5. You mark 8.5 and add half inch by the side, which is making everything 9 inches in total. Now you want to mark 2.5 inches on the last line you made, and have it in mind the 2.5 inches is the slanting allowance we added to the back, which made it 2.5 inches longer than the front. Bring the front material down a bit and mark this side I'm marking, which is 9 inches. To get your armhole, you're going to make use of your shoulder measurement, which is 9 inches, but I'm going to add half inches just because I want there to be much more free. Okay, just for you to know, 9 inches is perfectly fine. Take your time to give your armhole a freehand curve and cut it out. Remove the back material and place the front material on the table. Then I want you to place the back material on the front material equally and push it by half an inch. Watch closely and you understand. That clearly shows the half inch we pushed. Now you're going to trace the armhole like that. And now the back material is going to be on the table while the front material is going to be on it. Both materials' bottoms are going to be in line. You want to fold the back material to the front material by half an inch. These are ways you can use to check if you folded it half an inch, and this is mainly for joining allowance. For getting the armhole, let's start by marking this part and pointing. Connect the back line to the armhole and trim the back before trimming the front. Watch closely and you'll understand. And that's how I got my armhole. For the length of my jacket slanting, I'm working with 14 inches, but to make it much more easier for all measurements, there's a bone that feels like a hole between the bottom part of your chest. You can measure 1 inch or 2 inch from the top part of your shoulder down to that side and you're good. Open your shoulder, mark a width of 3 inches on it, close it back and take a sneak peek on where you marked it and mark it at the front. Based on the straight mark you made, I want you to give it a freehand curve. Open up your zip allowance, mark it so that you can easily see where you stop and connect the lines together. We're going to mark ½ inch at this side. As we give it a slight curve, connect the lines together and cut it out. And this is the end of this part. If you're unsure of your measurement, feel free to check the chest measurement and the length measurement. We are finally done with the cutting. Now you're going to use the main material we just finished cutting to trace out the lining. Make sure you iron your lining before tracing to remove any excess. I'm finally done tracing the back and the front. Now watch closely to see how I mark the facing for the linings. To be on the safe side, it's always good to leave ½ inch extra. I made use of 2 inches, but you can make use of 2.5 inches when cutting the facing like I'm doing. After cutting it out, this is the part where you fold one of the parts with an iron by ½ inch. This is what it should look like when you place the facing on the lining. Now I'm just going to put my hemming gun close to it to hold it so that I can easily sew. Hemming gun works with heat, so after putting the hemming gun inside, make sure you pour water and iron it. You can also use your pin for holding the facing. I just prefer using hemming gun. And that's how I achieved all these parts. Same knowledge, we are going to do the same thing to the bottom part, but we are going to use 2.5 inches for the length. With that same idea, I made use of a width of 9.5 inches and a length of 4 inches for the neck facing. And this is after folding it. Now let's get down to sewing the edges of everything. And after sewing, I prefer cutting this part of the lining to make my work as light as possible because the facing is already covering it. These are the measurements for the pocket, and we're going to be working with the big pocket. There's no exact measurement to mark where your zip starts from. I just mark it in this place and fold it to the other side so that the mark of the chalk can reflect for precise measurement. At the moment, I'm measuring the top part which will hold the zip. Hey, remember to stop where the chalk stops because the other part is going to be for the bottom which does not have any zip. That's me just measuring the bottom part just the way I measured the top part. After measuring the bottom part round, whatever measurement you get, that's what you use in cutting this stuff you're seeing here. But the width is going to be 3.5 inches. Now you're going to do this for the top part, but the width is going to be 2 inches and it's going to be 2 actual sides, unlike the bottom part that had just 1 side. The whole idea I'm going off is you join your zip with these 2 sides and join the bottom at the middle just the way I placed it in the 2 other sides too. And it wasn't a coincidence that I didn't put any joining allowance. It works well like that. Before I start sewing, I want to add my design so I don't miss this stage. Now let's get down to sewing. This presser foot I use makes it very easy when sewing a zip. Just like I said, the first step is sewing one side and sewing the other side. To reduce the confusion for some beginners, this is what I mean. You place the zip at this side and sew on it. After sewing, you do the same thing to the other side. After sewing, you should have something like this. I usually turn the back of it to like trim some excess material close to the zip, so that when I sew on top the zip, it covers the roughness of the material. Make sure you follow this principle for all the pockets with zip we are going to be making in this video. And that's how that part is made clean. You see the difference between the other side, right? This is the place where we sew the bottom from the front. You just sew this side and this side together. And after sewing those two parts, if you have a weaving machine, it's advisable to just weave the two edges so that it's clean. When you're done sewing, just fold one of the edge ½ inch and iron it round. Before joining these two sides, make sure you find the middle of the both sides, because we are going to start by sewing both middles together. Place both middle part you marked together and sew it round. Just a quick reminder before joining the part, sew with the part you didn't fold. While sewing around, sometimes you might have an excess. Try your best to like put it at the middle of the bottom part so that it just looks like a professional joining. And after sewing, remember to weave it to make it clean. And this is how it should look like after weaving every part that needs to be weaved. You see how clean everything looks? In case the last line you folded has gotten weak, it's good to iron it to make it as sharp as possible. Behind the camera, I traced this part which we'll be using for pockets. Watch closely and you will understand. And now at the moment, I'm finding the middle so that I know where I cut the material and put the zip. Same principle we use in fixing the other zip. That's how I want you to fix the zip. After fixing the zip, it should look like this. You see how clean the back is and how clean the front is. Remember to do this at both sides. To be at the safe side, make sure you pin it all around. And now I'm gonna add my design so I don't miss this stage. Behind the camera, I made an extra pocket, just the same way we made the other pocket. The reason why I turn the pocket inside out while placing is because it's much more easier when pinning. Try to pay attention to the pattern at which I'm pinning the pocket because it helps it from not shaking while sewing. The idea about sewing this pocket is you want to sew at a distance where the top part can still cover and hide your stitches. You see how it is? It gives this puffy look for combat. This part can be so confusing, that's why I'm explaining it again and again. I'm using the top parts to measure where I'm gonna like sew. If you notice, I'm just letting you know so that you have an idea of how to do it by yourself. And this is the outcome after sewing everything. I know you guys are exhausted with the whole pocket thing. This is going to be the last pocket we are making on this jacket. Because we don't want to sew on top the zip, we are going to look for a zip that is lacking 2 inches at both sides and cover it up with a material to complete it. Just like the way you make bread and butter, the zip is going to be the butter while the two fabrics are going to be the bread. Same idea. So after sewing, you should have something like this. You can work with any number for your dividing line, but I'm going to be working with 2.5 inches. Just the same way we sew our zip, do the same thing but weave the two edges before sewing on top of it. It's also very helpful to get the middle of each side you're joining so that when you join it, you know everywhere is equal. I usually make a line on the material that flows to where I'm going to be sewing on the zip to make my line as straight as possible. Mine shifted a bit, and this is part of the reason why it's good to pin your work while sewing. And this is the outcome of how everything looks like after sewing. Don't forget to weave this part I just showed you and iron everything perfectly well so that it looks good. When placing the pocket to the back, it's good for you to get the middle of the back and the middle of the pocket so that you can place them together and pin it like I just did. Now I'm going to be placing my designs because I don't want to pass this stage for adding the designs. And now we can carefully sew around it. This is the front of the jacket, and before cutting it, I prefer making a mark so that I know I get perfect lines when I'm fixing my zip. But I used ½ inch in this line, but for you, I want you to use 1 inch. 1 inch is much more better than using ½ inch. And the place I just marked is going to be the end point for where your zip stops. This just shows that the mark serves as a nest where you place your zip. And while sewing this part, you don't need to be in a haste. Take your time and do it slowly. I'm still going to remind you again, please make yours a 1-inch gap as a beginner. Now when sewing the second part of the zip, make sure you pin it, if not it's going to shake. We are done with the zip. Now it's time for us to join the two shoulders together. When you're done joining your second shoulder, don't forget to join the shoulders of your linings too. Please pay attention as much as you can. Watch closely to observe anything I might not speak out that might be helpful. Now you want to face the good side of the lining and the good side of the black material together. Take your time to align the both materials together. You don't want to make a mistake here. To be on the safe side, you guys should make use of pins to keep your work firm while you're sewing. Now I want you guys to sew around your both armholes. After doing that, you want to sew from this point I'm showing you around to your neck and down to the end point. Take your time while sewing, and if you are giving ½ inch to one side, make sure you give it to the other side so that everywhere is equal. When you're done sewing, any part that has a curve, just like the neck, the armhole, notch it the way I'm notching it to give it balance. This part might look confusing for the first time. Just turn it inside out and take your time to iron it. Now you're done with ironing, these parts I'm pointing should be sewed already. Just for highlighting purposes, with the same knowledge used in making the face, you can still do 3.5 inches at this other side. I just didn't add it. This part might look a bit confusing if this is your first time. Watch closely to see how I join the sides together. The first thing I did was I put my hand inside the jacket just to find the middle joining so that I can place both of them together. I'm just going to naturally allow this place to play so that you understand what's going on, so you don't think it's magic. The ethic about this joining is middle to middle. Try your best to pin your work at the middle part so that you know you're getting the actual size. And I don't pin mine unconsciously because I've gotten used to it. This is the point you're going to sew from this side to this part. It's always good to start from the middle down. Now you're going to connect the line from where you stop in the black material down to the end part of the lining. Without pinning, because I'm starting from the middle in this part, I'm sure of getting the same result. Like I said, this is the part where you connect the lines together to the end of the lining. Kudos guys, we're finally done with that part, and this time around we are going to give a gap in this lining. This is the space where we're going to use for turning, and it's a gap of 5.5 inches. And this is how it looks like after sewing. Remember, we did this to only one side. The first side we sewed, we didn't do it, but this second side was the only side we did this on. Now you can turn it inside out to get a glimpse of your work. When you're sure everything is good, you're going to turn it back so that we can sew the bottom part. If you ever see me pinning, just know it's a dangerous part. You must pin. This part is going to come handy for you. If you find that your lining is bigger than your actual material, you can hold it by the side by sewing it to make everything equal, and you can do it the other way around if the black material is bigger while the lining is smaller. With all this, now you can sew straight up, but before you do that, I want to show you this little thing that will help you. This is just the second reminder. While fixing your zip, don't give a gap of ½ inch like I did. Give a gap of 1 inch so that when you're sewing straight, it doesn't affect the zip part. You sew easily. And now you can sew from the beginning of this point to the ending point. Now you're done, we're going to turn this inside out, and the only way we can turn this is through the hole we left, if you can remember. When turning it inside out, don't overrush the process. Take your time so you don't tear your lining. Luckily, we are done turning this. Now we are going to take our time to iron this thing smoothly so that we can use our thread and needle to create an invisible stitch by hand. I know you guys can't see what's going on because of the color contrast. I'm going to redo this with a plain material so that you get a picture of what I'm doing. I'm going to be using the ironing line as a roadmap when sewing by hand. For the needle, double the thread and knot the bottom. Pass the needle from the bottom and use your ironing line as a guide. Now pass your needle to the opposite side, same way I'm passing mine. Make sure while passing the needle to the other side, it's straight because we should be having a ladder effect at the end of everything. With this same pattern, do it to the end, but don't drag to tighten anything yet until you reach the end. If yours was straight like I said you should do it, you should have a ladder effect like this. And please don't just drag the ending of your thread like this, if not it's going to come out very bad. Instead, drag half of the ladder. When everything is good to your satisfaction, you drag the end point and everything will come out clean. And now for us to lock the thread, watch closely to see how I lock it. If you watch closely, you're going to notice I'm passing the needle through a thread. Watch closely at this part, and after doing the first one, do a second one and even do a third one to make sure your thread is strong. And that's the process we used in closing the hole. We are finally done with everything. Now we just need to fix some designs and iron the jacket perfectly well. And this is the end result.